Hey guys, welcome back. Today we're gonna see how long my phone can last in the aquarium. I'm just kidding. Oh. Hey guys, welcome back to Matt Keeps Fish, and today we are breaking down how I clean the 40 gallon and the 10 gallon and maybe some other stuff. So for me, I usually do a clean or a vacuuming every week, and I clean the filters out every month just to get that extra gunk out of there. So first thing you're gonna need when you start cleaning out your tank is a bucket.
No.
And you're gonna need a nice big towel because you're gonna get wet on this ride. So once you've got these two things, you should unplug your filter and your heater. The filters are just so they're not dry running, but the heater you unplug so you don't shatter the glass, because if the heater keeps running while it's out of the water and it's touching the glass, it can crack it, so you gotta be careful. I like to do a 50% water change, getting as much of this mulm out of the substrate as I possibly can. Technically it's a good thing for the plants and the snails and the shrimp and for fish fry and stuff like that to hide in, but I get it out because it slows down my progression towards old tank syndrome. Some people really don't like doing their water changes, but it's a great way to keep the tank healthy, especially when you're adding fertilizers every week, which we're gonna get to afterwards. But I like to take an hour out of my day, do all my water changes, put on some Aquarium Co-op live streams, and just enjoy it. All right, now you can see the water we got out of here is absolutely disgusting, almost black. You can barely see the bottom. But that's from all the mulm that we got out of the gravel on the bottom. Again, mulm's not really a bad thing, but it doesn't look very nice to me, and it gets you to the old tank syndrome faster. The great thing about your bucket full of dirty water, though, is it's great for your outside plants. So I like to put it on my shrub here in the front, and the flowers around the back, and it works out really well. So you can see now that we're probably only 10% through. So I typically fill up the bucket twice. I might do it 3 times this time, and then we'll add the fertilizer. You guys can see why I put on a live stream during this, because it does take a little while.
Is that Kitster? Hey, buddy. How you doing? I like what you did with the barbells there. Very nice.
What is that snail doing?
A Kuhli Loach. I haven't seen one of these in years. Hey, buddy. Are you gonna swim away as soon as I get close? Oh, look at those eyes. Look how big this guy's gotten. That's insane. Wow. Wow. Look how big he is. There's a thick Kuhli Loach. I don't know what he eats, because they barely ever come out, and they're not super food responsive. I don't know.
Also, it's important that while you're watching your Aquarium Co-op live stream, you don't let the bucket overfill itself, because that's a major problem for a lot of aquarium owners, especially those with bigger tanks where, you know, you're doing a 50% water change. Oh, this is gonna take like half an hour. I'm just gonna go watch a show. The bucket will fill up on its own. No, it will overflow. It's happened to me. That's why I have a massive towel beside it just in case, but I'm filming for you guys, so it shouldn't be any problem. You can see that this water is a lot clearer because instead of vacuuming out all the gravel again, I just let it sit, which is a lot easier, but another reason why people let their buckets overflow. So we're gonna put this one over on these flowers here. There's not as much fertilizer on it, but it'll help them out a little bit. There we go. I'd say probably one more load, and then we'll touch it up. So speaking of, I was watching the live stream, and I started pumping the vacuum. I didn't realize it wasn't in the bucket, so I just pumped it out onto the floor. And that is what the towel is for. All right, so that should do it. Let's not spill anything out of the bucket anymore. There we go. There are a lot of disturbances. If you guys have planted tanks, there's a lot of problems that you'll find with vacuuming out your tank because it'll move the plants around with the water current and whatnot. So I haven't found a great solution to that. I'll show you guys a little solution to it. It's not the best one, but I'll show you guys what I got. But before that, we're just gonna water these trees a little bit. This one's looking okay. Not as good as this one though. This one's already budding. Look at this. Look at the buds on that. Nice little apple tree. I'm just gonna give it a little bit of water. Save some for our little pine trees over here. Look at this little cutie. Give you some water. Yep. And one more over here. And we'll give the rest to the rhubarb. There's a thick rhubarb. Look at that. Oh my gosh. That rhubarb has grown like a foot in width in the last like 2 weeks. It's crazy. We're gonna have some rhubarb pie. Too bad I don't like rhubarb pie. Look at that sky, guys. It's a good day. It's a beautiful day. Well, now that we've seen the garden, let's go back to the fish tank, shall we? So the best thing about living out in the country on a well is I don't need to put conditioner in my water. So if you guys watched the same videos that I did when I was new to the hobby, you probably think that the water that you get from the tap and put in the tank has to be the exact same temperature as what's already in the tank. And that's completely false. There is a little bit of reasoning behind it because you don't put like 90-degree, you don't put boiling water into your aquarium because it'll kill your fish. And you don't put freezing water into your aquarium because it'll kill your fish. But what is a natural occurrence in the wild where an extremely different temperature would go into the main body of water? Rain, right? It rains everywhere. I'm pretty sure it rains everywhere. And so they're predisposed to accept this kind of stress. Now, don't put them under multiple kinds of stress. And some fish, actually, you should not put under this kind of stress at all. I'm pretty sure discus and, well, other fish, I'm sure. Do your research on your fish before you buy them. But some fish are very delicate and you should absolutely keep an eye on your temperature. But for dwarf neon rainbows and the kind of easy fish that I keep, it doesn't matter all that much. And being that the chances of you guys keeping easy fish is pretty high, it probably won't matter all that much for you either. So here is the method I talked about for putting in water without disturbing the plants. And it's not foolproof. It only works on bigger tanks. So you can see here, I have this median in the middle. Obviously that's what a median is. You guys probably won't have this if you have anything smaller than a 40 gallon. I think I've only seen them on 40 gallons. But what I do is I slowly pour it onto that median. And you can see that it diffuses the water across. Kind of like rain, actually. Other than for the floating plants, it's as if nothing changed at all. Oh, and that Java bird, which is not anchored down at all. Alright, so like 20 minutes later, the tank is full again via bucket. And you can see that I filled it up right to the trim. And the reason behind that is because it looks nice, first of all. I don't like it, you know, with the water line right there. And it also reduces the sound coming from these hang-on back filters. When the waterfall is going over, if it's taking longer for it to hit the water, the crashing sound is going to be louder. But if it's right at the edge of the filter, like you guys can see right here, it's like just below it. Which is pretty nice when it's in your kitchen. You know, you don't want to hear the crashing waves of a tsunami while you're eating dinner. Hey Matt, nice fish tank. Are there any fish in it? No, just plants and, you know, a billion snails over here. But no, I just like to keep plants in my fish tank. No fish. Fish really aren't my thing, you know. You guys can see here that the rotella is pretty much all dying. This jungle val never grew. Jungle val back there is awesome. I love it. The Anubias is growing well, if you guys can see it without the glare. The Amazon swords I just replanted, so they're gonna hate me for a couple weeks probably. But we're going to add some nutrients and hopefully they'll bounce back. We're gonna use Flourish again, not the best fertilizer granted, but I'll do a capful today and then I'll do another capful in a few days. And that'll add up to 2 capfuls in a week. And hopefully that's going to add to my plant growth. Oh, it smells terrible. Now, on the topic of algae, Algae is the chaos being. It grows in the presence of an imbalance. And that imbalance could be nutrients, it could be light, it could be CO2. It's kind of hard to tell. And unless I become a scientist, the only way that I'm going to be able to battle this algae is to just keep experimenting with light levels and nutrient levels and stuff like that. So now that this is all done and clean, we're going to plug back in our filters, which are going to sound terrible. And we're going to plug in our heater. Now you can hear from that awful noise that the filters are having a little bit of a struggle. So what we're going to do to help them out is we're just going to get some water from the tank in a little cup like this. And we're going to pour it right into the filter box. There's one. And there's two. Look at this stem plant. It's so sad. And now that we've cleaned our glass on the inside, we're going to give it a quick wipe down on the outside. Now, I just use water and then I dry it off. You guys can use really anything so long as it's aquarium safe, so don't use Windex or anything like that. It just gives the appeal to the tank and it lets me do cinematics for you guys. Alright, the tank is looking good, the glass is looking nice and clean. I don't know why that got stuck on there, but you can already hear the difference in the filters. They're a lot more quiet. They're just getting a little bit of bubbles out right now. And now let's move on to the 10 gallon. All right, we are now in the bedroom getting ready to work on the 10 gallon. And I love the difference between the 10 gallon and the 40 gallon. The 10 gallon is just so light and green, while the 40 gallon is very dark and blue. We're gonna start by taking off the light real quick. Oh my gosh, that's bright. And taking off this, guys, if you don't have a lid on your aquarium, and it's a tropical aquarium, I highly recommend putting a lid on it. It just saves so much time in topping up because all the humidity and most of the water stays in. Now that that's done, we're gonna take this blinding light and put it back on the aquarium. Oh my gosh, guys, look at these floating plants. I really don't expect them to survive very long, but they're so beautiful. And so chaotic. I just love how natural this looks. The plants are all doing their own thing. Ooh, we got a little bit of surface tension there. You can see it looks kind of oily. Interesting. That's pretty weird actually for the amount of movement that the water is getting right there. So just like in the 40 gallon, we're gonna do a 50% water change on this, although it's gonna be a lot quicker because there's a lot less water to take out. So we're gonna unplug the heater again and the filter, just in case we don't want any problems with the glass or the water flying up my face, which it has in the past. And we're gonna take out 50%. I guess the main reason that I do a water change as big as 50% is there's really only things to gain from it. So when you're taking out all this water, you're taking out all the ammonia and waste that's kind of built up in it. And when you're putting in new water, and fertilizer even, you are putting in new nutrients and you're adding new minerals and stuff so that the plants can use them and so that the fish can use them as well actually. So we're not going to go too deep into the gravel just because there's a lot of sand in there. I don't want to vacuum up the sand, but we will hover it around and just catch any loose particles. And we'll just take this outside to the flowers. You can actually see in there there's a little bit of duckweed, and I'm not worried about that at all because it grows so fast, and they grow by splitting apart, kind of like cells. And once again, it doesn't have to be spot on with the temperature, just so long as your fish aren't too delicate. And I have no fish in there, so I don't think I need to worry about it at all. Alright, so like I was telling you guys before, if you have a smaller tank, there's no middle trim thing on the top, so I'm going to put it on the rock at the back here. And that should diffuse the energy in the water so that it doesn't destroy all the plants on the bottom. Now it's gonna destroy the plants on the top. There's really nothing I can do about that. But again, they split so fast that it doesn't really matter if I drown a few of them. And although we could put another bucket in here, I think I'm gonna keep it like that, just because I don't want the floating plants too close to the light. And I think it looks cool if you can see the top of the plants as well as their stem underneath through here. You can see that there's a lot of debris in here, and unlike the 40 gallon, I'm not gonna take most of this stuff out just because there's so much. I'm gonna let the snails deal with most of it overnight, but we are gonna move this plant back here so that it can thicken up for my shrimp in the future. And if you guys were ever considering floating plants, you might want to also consider this, because it happens every single time you put your hand in the tank, and it's kind of hard to get off. Like, I try to shake my hand out like this and keep them off. It seems to work a little bit, but you still get frog bit on there. So now I'm going to scrape off the brown diatoms in there. They're actually really good algae for the Borneo loach, but I don't like them on the front pane. It's kind of hard to do cinematics when they're there. And you guys can also see that where there were a ton of trumpet snails in the sand, you can still see their tracks. They're all gone now. And I think they're hiding because they know that there's a cichlid out there, and he's been biting at them as soon as I put him in. So just like with the pufferfish, when he goes to bed, they'll wake up and they'll start working on those decaying plants and stuff like that, and the tank system goes on. Alright, so now that the 10 gallons done, I'm gonna make up some bloodworms for these guys just to treat them after a very stressful water change. I'm gonna do maybe one look over. I see some valves that might be stuck under the driftwood there, so we'll get those out. And now I can take cinematics for you guys, so enjoy those.